everyone, and welcome to this video. In this video, I will be solving your homework problems that you were supposed to do for Math OD2, sections 1.1 and 1.2. Let's get started. As you can see, we have a multi-step linear equation that we're being asked to solve. The first thing that I always tell my students to do is to draw a vertical line down through the equal sign. And what this vertical line does is it helps us keep track of which side we're working on for either of our equations. Because remember, whatever you do to one side of the equation, you have to also do to the other side of the equation. Sometimes students will, by accident, for example, maybe add 5 to one side twice and not do anything to the other side. So this vertical line helps us to not make that mistake. So let's get started. The first thing that we need to do is we need to distribute this negative 4. So we get negative 4a minus 4, and then we just bring down the minus 5 here. Likewise, we're going to distribute this positive 2, and we get 4a plus 6 plus 1. Okay, so again, that means that our first step was to distribute. Okay, our next step, as you may have guessed, is to combine like terms. Remember, we can only combine like terms when they're on the same side of the equation. So over on the left side, on the left side of the equation, you can see that we have a negative 4 and a negative 5. And when we add those together, that gives us negative 9. On the other side, we also have a positive 6 and a positive 1, and we can combine those because they're on the same side to get positive 7. At this point, we want to start getting all of our variables on one side. You can do this in any way you want. Normally, I counsel students to do this in a way that is going to give you a positive coefficient, just because human beings are less likely to make errors when they're working with positive numbers. Okay, so I'm going to add 4a to both sides, so that makes these terms go away, and I still have to bring down my negative 9. On the other side, I have 4a plus 4a, and that's going to give me 8a, and again, I just bring down the 7. Now that I have all of my terms that contain a variable on one side, I want to get the rest of my terms, the terms that don't contain a variable, which are called constants, on the other side. And I need to do this by subtracting 7 from both sides. Negative 9 minus 7 gives me negative 16, and then I just bring down this 8a, because of course these cancel out. Last but not least, I need to get rid of the coefficient of a, which is 8, and I do that by dividing both sides by 8. So negative 16 divided by 8 is negative 2. So my final answer is a equals negative 2. So that is the answer to the first question. Let's do the next question. The next question here, as you can see, has a lot of fractions. Now, you certainly don't have to do it this way, but I always counsel my students to find the LCD, or the least common denominator. So the least common denominator in this case is 12. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply this whole equation by 12. So let me demonstrate and show you what that looks like. So I have 3 halves n times 12 plus 8 thirds times 12 equals 29 over 12 times 12. So now we need to go through and simplify this. So if you wanted to, you could think of this as 12 over 1, if that helps you. So one thing that we can do is we can divide. We have 12 divided by 2, that gives us 6. Then we have 3n times 6, that gives us 18n. Likewise over here, we have 12 over 3. 12 over 3 is 4, and 8 times 4 is 32. Lastly, over here, hopefully you can see that the 12s cancel out, so we have 29. So in a single step, just by multiplying by the LCD, we have obtained an equation that doesn't have any fractions in it, which is usually a desirable thing. So now we want to get all of our variables on one side, which we have, and then we want to get all of our non-variable terms, or our constants, on the other side. So again, it's always a good idea to draw your vertical line, so you keep your two sides of your equation straight, and then I'm going to subtract 32 from both sides. So I bring down my 18n, 29 minus 32 is negative 3. So the last step is for me to divide by 18. And so we have n is equal to negative 1 over 6. Okay? If you did this as a decimal, it would look like this. It would be 0.1666667. Okay? I believe My Up in Math does not accept this. So you want to get out of the habit of converting fractions into decimals. And you want to leave them as fractions in simplest terms. So make sure you get in the habit of doing that. Let's go to the next problem. In the next problem, we're asked to graph this line, and we're asked to do this by creating or picking some values of x. You can use any points that you want to. I'm just going to start at random. So let's say I pick x equals negative 4. Okay, well, I'm going to have 4 times negative 4 plus y equals 5. Well, 4 times negative 4 is negative 16. So then I have negative 16 plus something equals 15. I add 16 to both sides. I have y equals 31. So that's way outside of the range of what's going to fit on my graph. So that's probably not a good point to pick. I mean, that's okay. We can pick a different point. So let's start with something closer to 0. Let's start with negative 1. So we have 4 times negative 1 plus y equals 5. So that gives me negative 4 plus y equals 5. And then if I add 4 to both sides, I end up with y equals 9. So one point for my ordered pair would be the point negative 1, positive 9. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this is the point, this is the point negative 1, 9, right there. Okay, so let's do a few more points. Let's try the point 0. So if I have 4 times 0 plus y equals 5, well, 4 times 0 is just 0. So we have 0 plus y equals 5, or we have the point 0, comma 5. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's going to be right there. So really, we only need 2 points to form a line. In fact, we can also tell the slope of this line just by looking at the change between the 2 points. So to get from one point to another, notice that we go down 4 units, which is negative 4, and then we go over 1 unit. Okay? Lines are all about patterns. So what I can do without doing any more work on my table is I can use this pattern to find more points. So if I keep going down 4 and over 1, down 4 and over 1, down 4 and over 1, I get more points on my line. So all of these are going to be points on the line 4x plus y equals 5. So then, when I feel like I have enough points, all I have to do is to connect them and draw a line over them. And a good habit to get into, and you'll see why as we move through these chapters, is to practice labeling the line. So I'm going to write the equation 4x plus y equals 5 on there. All right, let's do our last problem. Our last problem is asking us to find the x and the y-intercepts. So, how do I find the x-intercept and how do I find the y-intercept? Well, to find the x-intercept of the equation, I need to set y equal to 0 and I need to solve for x. Okay, and that's just something that you need to know and memorize. So let's start by finding the x-intercept. So we have 2x plus 5y equals 10. Okay, and so this tells me to set y equal to 0. So I'm going to have 5 times 0. Okay, 5 times 0 is 0, so we can just cross that out, and we have 2x equals 10. If we divide both sides by 2, we find out that x equals 5. Now remember, I can't plot x equals 5. Well, I could, but it's actually a line. What I really need is an ordered pair. So I need my x value and I need my y value, and I need to put them together to form an ordered pair. So the ordered pair of the x-intercept is 5, 0. So let's plot that on our graph. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0. So my point is right here. This is my x-intercept, and we can label it. Okay? Now we need to find our y-intercept. So the y-intercept is found by setting x equal to 0 and then solving for y. So let's try doing that with this equation as well. So notice we start over from the beginning, and this time I'm going to let x be equal to 0. So I'm going to have 2 times 0 plus 5y equals 10. Well, 2 times 0 is just 0. So I end up with 5y equals 10. Divide both sides by 5, and I find out that y equals 2. But again, remember, that's just half of the picture. The whole picture is my x variable and my y variable put together into an ordered pair. So the ordered pair for the y-intercept is 0, 2. That's located right here, and we can label it right there. Now I can draw a line through these 2 points. And I didn't do a very great job. Let me try drawing it by hand and try this again. So it's going to be kind of like this. Okay, now remember, if you want more points on your graph, you can use the slope because the slope is constant. So notice to get from one dot to another, I would go down 2 units, and then I would go over 5 units. Again, I can continue this pattern. If I go down 2 units and over 5 units, that's going to give me another point. Also, guess what? Instead of going down 2 units and up right 5 units, I could also go up 2 units and left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units, and that will give me another point on this line. Again, I can go up 2 units and left 5 units, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so notice, because I didn't do that, I have what I call line drift here. So let's just fix this line really quickly and make it go through this last point like that. Okay, and again, it's always a good practice to label your line with the function. Remember, the function is, what is it? 2x plus 5y equals 10. That's my equation. Okay, so hopefully that helps you, and please come to my office hours if you need any more help.